Hey everybody, welcome to the Dungeoncast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Will.
This is the podcast where we talk about everything Dungeons and Dragons, from bombastic bards to burning blades, and today we're talking about brass dragons.
The Dungeoncast. It's the year of the dragon.
It's back.
Indeed.
It's back again.
Indeed.
For one of the last times.
Well, yeah, we got a few more of these, but yes, today we're talking about brass dragons.
All right.
So in Dungeons and Dragons, brass dragons are the weakest of the 5 major metallic dragons. They're also the smallest. Some would also consider them to be the most benign of all dragon kind, except for 4E for some reason. 4E for some reason, brass dragons are like vicious,
ravenous monsters.
You know, they're like vicious mercenaries, which is totally contradictory to every other edition. But in all other editions, brass dragons are quite gregarious and both famous and at times infamous for their deep love of socializing and conversation.
Okay. Are they mercenaries at all?
No. Bronze dragons are kind of the mercenaries, canonically. I don't know why 4E decided to mix that up.
Okay.
But whatever.
Shout out to 4E.
Shout out to 4E. Doing things different. Brass dragons have a quite distinctive and unique look, which at this point I'm realizing is just kind of true for all D&D dragons. They all look really unique and distinctive, and they're all really well designed. And so shout out to D&D publishers for doing a good job on dragons. You know, it's in the name. So the heads of brass dragons are defined by a broad crest plate that fans out and back with a slight curve from their cheeks and from their forehead. They have a small frill that runs down the length of their neck to the tip of their tail. Their wings are probably the most prominent physical feature, though. They are essentially these enormous triangular sails that, almost like a manta ray, that are directly connected to the brass dragon's body from the shoulder all the way down to the tip of the tail.
Is this one of those dragons that likes the ocean climates?
No, this dragon actually likes things very, very dry.
Oh, so it's the desert manta.
It's a desert manta.
That's
yes,
cool.
Indeed. Their wings are widest at the shoulder and they taper gently towards the tail. Now, this is somewhat similar to the wing setup of copper dragons, but with copper dragons, their wings taper much, much more severely, giving them kind of a Y shape when they're in flight.
Okay.
Brass dragons have more of a just a triangle, like they just look like a flying triangle from below.
Okay.
When first born, brass dragons have very dull brown scales, but as they age, their scales begin to shine with a warm, burnished luster.
Oh, I wonder if is that like something that derives from like smithing or working with metals?
Perhaps. I've noticed this is actually really common amongst all dragons. Like most dragons when they're born, their scales are like really like dull and dark, and then they become more vibrant as they get older.
I wonder what that's based off of.
Yeah, I don't know. Also, brass dragons, everywhere they go, they carry an aura or a smell of oiled, heated metal.
That's cool.
Which I'm not sure what that smells like, but I feel like I would know it if I smelled it.
It smells like when you are like holding your car keys for too long, and then you like go to like scratch your nose.
Okay, cool. I can see that. Yeah, sure. That's hilarious.
It's like a hot day, so you're all sweaty.
Right. That's gross. So as I said before, brass dragons are very boldly talkative. They basically live for conversation, and your average brass dragon will likely engage in conversation with tens of thousands of creatures in its extremely long life. Due to this deep love of conversation for conversation's sake, paired with the fierce intelligence that brass dragons have, they have a tendency to become fluent in hundreds of languages, which of course just feeds their ability to talk even more. They also have a tendency to become quite the information brokers, basically through osmosis. Essentially, when you talk to everyone all the time, you inevitably learn secrets and gossip. You also probably inevitably form like networks of friendships and communications across the land. So
a type of hoard, wouldn't you say, William?
I would say so. Yeah, they definitely hoard information for sure. And they hoard sweet conversation topics.
Sweet icebreakers.
Indeed. They're so good at that. And brass dragons are more than willing to part with their valuable information in exchange for treasure or for just more good conversation.
It's like button trading. It's like going to Disneyland and like swapping out buttons.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
What do you mean? What buttons?
Like aluminum buttons or whatever, like the pins. Sorry, pins.
Pins. Oh, okay, pins. I was literally picturing buttons.
Some of them are enamel.
Gotcha.
Pins.
Okay, that's interesting. Because of brass dragons' overt friendliness, along with their peaceful and generous personalities, there's this common misconception that brass dragons are the humblest of all dragonkind. And if you were to ask a brass dragon, they would agree that humility is among their many virtues. But in truth,
yes, I am the most humble of all dragons.
It's so true.
It is I, the best,
indeed,
most humble.
But the truth is that their eager to please attitudes actually stems from a form of draconic hubris. Essentially, brass dragons consider themselves such gifted conversationalists and such excellent company that they can't bear to allow any sentient being to miss out on the benefit of their presence. So it doesn't come from the most humblest of places.
No, I imagine not.
Yeah, indeed. So this behavior of insisting on talking to everyone can actually become pretty extreme. Pretty much anyone walking within a brass dragon's territory is fair game and will be approached to be talked to.
Okay.
Like no exceptions. Unless it's like an obviously evil creature, then the brass dragons are like, no, get out of my
time
territory.
to die.
Time to die.
Polymorphs back out into dragon form and eats them and flies away.
So if any being attempts to leave the territory without engaging in conversation, the brass dragon will follow them.
Oh, man.
Yeah, they will not let you go without a conversation. If said being continues to attempt to escape, it is a distinct possibility that...
I'm imagining myself like not wanting to talk to a stranger
really
badly.
Like, no,
my anxiety is up and I'm like, no. Take my wallet. My keys. Stop.
Yeah, exactly. But if this being continues to attempt to escape, as it seems you would, there's a distinct possibility that the brass dragon might use its sleeping gas breath to knock out the person. And then when that person awakens, they might find themselves either pinned beneath a dragon claw or buried up to the neck in sand until the dragon's thirst for conversation is slated.
You wake up with some man sitting on your chest and he's like, when I was a boy.
Right. And
you try to get away. He's like, no, you will listen.
You will listen. Yeah, that's pretty much exactly how that would go.
We're going to get to know each other, friend.
So
what a fucking creep.
I know. Brass dragons can be, like I said, all dragons seem to have some sort of like slight mental illness. So the only thing that rivals a brass dragon's love for conversation is their love for heat and fire. They live exclusively in dry, arid, hot climates such as deserts or dry savannas, and they make their lairs in rocky caves atop mesas or steep cliffs or in canyon walls, preferably with a wall facing east in order to enjoy the heat of a rising sun.
That's what you do if you're trying to dodge a brass dragon. You just walk by your local brick oven pizza shop, and they'll just go right in.
Yeah, they just can't resist.
They'll just go stand as close to that pizza as possible.
They love those places. So their terrain of choice ends up putting them at odds with both blue and brown dragons. Now, blue dragons are a serious threat due to the fact that brass dragons are much, much weaker, and blue dragons just blatantly outstrip them in power.
Yeah.
Blue dragons also have a superior range on their breath weapon with that lightning strikes. And blue dragons are much superior flyers. I think we talked about in the blue dragons episode. Blue dragons are
pretty crazy.
The best flyers amongst dragons. So if a blue dragon moves in to town, it's pretty much a wash for the brass dragon, who will vacate immediately and only return if they can muster the strength to drive out of blue. Maybe they can get a few brass buddies to show up. Or, they do have a lot of friends, so they could maybe get some adventurers to... That's a cool adventure hook. Like, oh, there's this blue dragon terrorizing the countryside. No, he just took my home. But you hire a group of adventurers to drive them out. That'd be kind of fun. And
then you have to kill like a bunch of brown dragons right after.
Right.
Because they're like, you've done it. Now we will undo you.
Exactly.
They're like poaching you.
So now brown dragons are far less of a threat for brass dragons because they're much more closer to the same power level, but also browns pretty much can't fly. So brass dragons have the high ground in any type of combat situation.
Were brown dragons the one that could jump? They could just kind of sand sail, right?
They can sand sail. The jumpers, I think, were the gray dragons who also struggle at flying.
The gray dragon was the boxing, rock dragon.
Yeah, they're like the bulldog dragons.
Yeah. Cool.
So, for all their love of conversation, brass dragons do not care for the company of each other.
Okay.
Surprising.
Sure.
So, we talked a little bit about this, in the Copper Dragons episode because The copper dragon's kind of a similar situation. So when it comes down to it, brass dragons are too similar to be friends. Their incessant yammering over each other will lead to irritation as each tries to get a word in.
They're just yelling at each other like, what is even the point of this?
I know.
And they're both yelling the same thing at each other for like an hour before they just part ways.
Right. And then the irritation, this can lead to bickering and arguing, and then to insult throwing. And with draconic pride being what it is, eternal enmity.
Come to blows.
Yeah, eternal enmity is almost inevitable. So, as such, brass dragons have the self-awareness to keep only loose connections and contacts with its brass dragon neighbors. They only really come together when either banding together to fight a common enemy or for the purposes of courtship. So,
just like weren't the copper dragons like real good at putting aside their differences to become mates?
Yeah, that was pretty much it. Yeah, there's a lot of similarities between the brass and the copper dragons.
Greens too, right? We talked about that with green dragons.
Greens are very good at putting aside their differences for that purpose. They actually end up making very dutiful parents. But let's take a short rest.
Let's take a short rest. Hey everybody, welcome to the part of the episode that we're not talking about that anymore. Can you chill? Mostly you, Will. Can you chill, Will?
Oh, I'm already chill.
So fucking chill right now.
I'm sitting here drinking my Rockstar Recovery.
Rolling
chilling.
hit die.
That too.
This is one of my favorite parts of the show because it allows me to express my love and my appreciation for everybody that listens to the show. Thank you guys so much.
Indeed. Thank you guys so much. It really means a lot that you guys give us the time to watch our show and support us, whether that be through Patreon or just through comments and subscriptions and the like. It really helps out.
Mention your love.
And I love you guys for it.
Specifically your love. Thank you. And now let's talk about, you did mention Patreon. We are going to shout out all of you new pledges.
Indeed,
Thank
we
you
are.
for joining our podcast and supporting us to help keep the lights on. Matthew Gilliland.
Thank you, Matthew.
Sam Daly.
Thank you, Sam.
Sarah S.
Thank you, Sarah.
Captain Mike.
Thank you, Captain Mike.
Stian Gulling Eldevik.
What was that?
Stian. Stian?
Thank you, Stian.
Sorry if I got that wrong. Gerard Dunn.
Thanks, Gerard.
Eric Larson.
Thank you, Eric.
And yep, that's everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for supporting us on Patreon. It means the world to us.
Thank you guys so much. We have great news for Patreon. October is a big month. It is the anniversary of the podcast coming up. That means that we're going to be changing some stuff in our Patreon, including things with and revolving around the $20 tier exclusive merch. If you caught the short rest in episode 150, thank you very much. The shout out to Demogorgon mug will be swapped out for some new exclusive merch, along with maybe some other changes that we're talking about right now.
Indeed.
To help make Patreon a better place for you guys. So also along those lines, we're going to be taking Flashbang, I almost said the animated series again. That'd be super cool. Flashbang and the Surgeon, we're going to be taking season 1 from behind the $10 paywall and moving it to the $5 paywall. So everybody that has heard about it, that's in there for early episodes, there's now going to be a full season of Flashbang and the Surgeon, a D&D campaign, dungeon mastered by myself with special guest Jake and our friend Steve, where we take episodes of Batman the Animated Series and turn them into a game of Dungeons and Dragons. So, we want more people to know about that one. New episodes for season 2 of Flashbang and the Surgeon. We've recorded our world builder. It is now the newer episodes of season 2. Those are still going to go behind the $10 paywall. So, you guys will still have like brand new, fresh content coming in, and the $5 tier will now have access to the season 1. Yeah, we're doing real cool stuff with that season 2 of FBATS. We're introducing a lot of the more iconic bad guys this season for sure.
Cool beans.
That being said, if you guys want to, you can pledge any amount you want. We offer up to $50. You can get your name as transcribed to NPC status in Super Quest Saga.
It's true.
Which we'll be talking more about at the end of the episode. But with that, I think we need to get back to the show.
Let's get back to the show. We've returned.
We've returned.
And we're back talking about brass dragons. So when it comes to the diet of brass dragons, they can and will eat almost anything if the need arises. But in actuality, they tend to eat and drink very little. Brass dragons recognize that their scarce habitats are quite fragile and incapable of sustaining enormous apex predators such as themselves. So luckily, brass dragons have the inexplicable ability to live off only the morning dew that they collect in the early mornings.
That seems...
I don't know why. It never is explained.
I'm never satiated.
Maybe that's why the brass dragons are the smallest and weakest of all dragons. They're malnourished.
They're like panda bears. They're just like so fucking smart. But please, like, eat an apple. My God.
Right, exactly.
Eat something with some substance, man.
Right. So I take this, like, again, the brass dragons are known as like the most peaceful and generous and kind. So like for them, it's like this is the best path of affecting the least amount of creatures.
Okay.
So
are brass dragons like the halflings of the dragon world? They're like small and weak, but they're still super like charming and...
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good analog. Yeah, I think they might be like the halflings of the metallic dragons. Sure.
That's weird.
It is a little odd, but
okay.
I think it's fairly fitting. So when it comes to the hordes of brass dragons are not partial to cold metals and jewelry like a lot of other dragons are. They prefer more organic type treasures like rare woods, textiles, fine handicrafts made from exquisite materials, and they store them in their warm, dry, aired lair to help preserve these treasures from deteriorating with age. Also with some magic, I'm sure.
Their hordes got soul.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like that cold, lifeless metal shit.
No, they don't.
Nah. Only that stuff, things with stories to tell, things like talking pieces.
Right.
Okay.
So still though, these items will make up the bulk of the brass dragon's hoard. They are not the brass dragon's most prized possessions though. So above all things, brass dragons covet items that will allow them to converse with other personalities. So for example, enchanted sentient weapons, like brass dragons go crazy for that shit because it's someone to talk to.
Hell yeah.
Probably an entity that's probably been around for a long time too, because like entities like that are theoretically immortal. And also, like things like enchanted lamps with a genie inside, like that's another prized possession that brass dragon would very much covet.
Oh yeah.
So
I covet genie bottles.
Don't we all? So before we get into the regional and layer actions of brass dragons, because they are quite unique. First, unlike other dragons, brass dragons don't keep their hordes within their layers. Instead, brass dragons hide their hordes in multiple small portions in secret places spread across their territory, buried beneath sand.
Land pockets, if
you will, indeed. The layer itself will be carved out of the rocky cliffs, and they're essentially set up like these strangely hidden underground mansions.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah, complete with like elegant foyers, art galleries, storage rooms, and extravagant sleeping chambers. The centerpiece of these underground mansions being what is called the Grand Conversation Hall. So this is where they spend a majority of their time entertaining guests and friends and just having their most favored conversations.
They're bringing in like for hire, like Michelin star chefs and stuff to cater their party.
Yeah.
So they just build these little land pockets as like super beast, like museum houses.
Oh, okay. So the land pockets are where they keep like small portions of their hoard.
So that's more like a cave. Or like a tunnel.
Yeah, it's going to be some sort of secret, probably trapped location. Okay. But like where they live is like just this underground mansion.
Nice. That's super cool.
I thought it was really cool. I was like, oh, wow, that's really different from a lot of other dragons.
You walk into the mountainside and you're in a house.
Indeed.
Wow.
So any questions about brass dragons before we get to their stats?
How are they building these things? If they're building like this nice foyer into the mountainside, are they like commissioning this work?
No, they usually do it themselves because you got to remember dragons are fully capable of magic and they're strong. They can dig out stone and whatnot. And so they'll probably dig out their rooms and then like, you know, they'll spend time learning whatever art it is they need to like sculpt it, you know, magically enchant it, make it look how they want. You know? So
they dig it out as in their dragon form and then they become like a really burly, like handsome man. And then they just start like, or woman, and they just start like placing bricks.
Sure. I mean, I could see that. Maybe not,
throwing down
obviously
mortar.
they're not going to hire a crew, so they have to find some way to do it. So it's either through magic or through, self-improvement.
I've seen some magic. I'm not sure what they're doing, but have you seen those videos where they throw the mortar plaster up onto the wall and they're like getting the high places? They're just like scooping it off of the scraper and like throwing it up onto the high part of the wall.
I've seen
and it's
that.
like randomly the super even coat.
Right.
Like it's just a burly person just like standing inside of this mountainside cave that they've eaten and just like doing like really monotonous like labor work for like years and years because it lives so long.
Yeah, I could see that. But also, isn't there the meld stone spell or shape stone spell? So they could do that too.
It's the they're scooping up magic off their scraper and throwing meld stone onto the wall.
Exactly.
Sure.
That's exactly how they do it.
Way to take the piss out of that one, Will.
Sorry. Just saying. There's an easier way.
There's an easier way. Magic.
Indeed. So let's talk about the ancient breast dragon stat block. So armor class 20, 297 HP. Now this is a challenge rating 20. This is about as low as any of the major dragons go. I have to look at white dragon. That might be the only one that might be weaker, but I'm pretty sure they match challenge rating, so 20 for both.
Okay.
Still just massive scores, though. Strength 27, Dex 10, Constitution 25, Intelligence 16. Actually, for an ancient brass dragon, I feel like that intelligence should be a little higher because I was given the impression from the lore that they're actually hyper intelligent. Dragons in general are supposed to be hyper intelligent, but
okay.
Either way, their charisma is 19, which I think is pretty fitting for such a conversation driven monstrosity. They are immune to fire because they can breathe fire, and so they get complete immunity to that kind of damage. Blind sight, dark vision, all that stuff. They get the legendary resistance that all dragons get, which, just to reiterate, if they fail a save, they can just choose to succeed.
Fail to save? Don't.
Exactly.
Magic.
Exactly.
It's the easy way.
It's the easy Exactly. And they can do it 3 times a day. Multi-attack, again, like all dragons, they get the bite, they get the claw, they get the tail. All pretty comparable damage. Bites 2d10 plus 8 piercing. Claws 2d6 plus 8 slashing. Tail is 2d8 plus 8 bludgeoning. And with the multi-attack, they get to do 1 of each, I believe. Let me see here. And it can use its frightful presence as part of that attack. Oh, that's nice. And then, again, all dragons get the Frightful Presence, which is just 120-foot radius of the dragon. Any creature must succeed on DC 18 Wisdom saving throw or become frightened for 1 minute.
Now, there are like abilities in the game you take that make you immune to fear, like automatically, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Like the Halfling has that?
Halfling does have at least advantage on fear. At least.
Is Barbarian the other one? What are
there are all kinds of classes with features that do that. Like there are Paladin and Fighter class stuff that does that, like depending on paths you take or choices you make. I can't name any of them off the top of my head, but specifically the Paladin one, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But there is a lot of immunity to fear, which is pretty funny because a lot of high-end creatures have fear effects.
Yeah, like all the staple ones, like Beholder and stuff too. You're gonna need to be like immune to fear somehow.
Yeah, you're gonna be real fucking brave to handle this shit.
That's my fear immunity. It's just like not giving a fuck.
Exactly.
That's a cool reflavor for Halfling.
Yeah,
that doesn't give a fuck.
I just don't give a fuck. That was your first mistake.
That's the Halfling Barbarian.
There we go.
Super immune to fear.
I really want to build a Halfling Barbarian because I think the idea is really cool.
Oh yeah, we used to talk about it a lot more, but we've talked about it. Getting them ankles.
Yeah, getting them ankles.
Just get them ankles. I rage, my teeth get all sharp.
Indeed.
And my eyes go completely black.
I like that. That's also terrifying.
I'm like a piranha.
Totally horrifying. Yeah. Or like a shark. Okay, so let's talk about their breath weapons because metallic dragons get 2. The first being their fire breath. So the dragon exhales fire in a 90-foot line that is 10 feet wide. Each creature in that line must make a DC 21 dexterity saving throw or take 16d6 fire damage on a failed save, half damage on a successful one. So again, massive damage, as it should be.
Yes.
Metallic dragons' second breaths are always non-lethal breaths, and then in the case of the brass dragon, it's their sleep breath. So the dragon exhales sleep gas in a 90-foot cone. Each creature in that area must succeed on a DC 21 Constitution saving throw or fall unconscious for 10 minutes. Now that is very powerful.
That's a long time.
The effect ends for a creature if the creature takes damage or someone uses an action to wake it up. But like all the dragon has to do is put you to sleep, pick you up, carry you high into the sky.
Steal your kidneys.
And that too. High into the sky and just let you drop. I mean, you're done.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do.
I mean, your kidneys will live on.
Don't fight a brass dragon. It'll drop you from the sky.
It'll drop you from thousands of feet
Indeed.
to your death.
That to me, that ups its challenge rating if you ask me. But anyways.
What if you accidentally, like, it mistimes it and you wake up and you're like a monk or something? Can you outlive that? Can't you, like, mitigate fall damage?
I know that
That'd be hilarious.
That would be pretty funny. I mean, there's also like a paladin, you can grow wings, like, and stuff if you're high enough level, obviously. But yeah, so but 10 minutes, that's a long time.
That's a long time. Enough to perform minor surgery to steal your organs.
Exactly. So, metallic dragons also all get the change shape ability, which just gives them free magical polymorph.
Okay.
So brass dragon gets that as well. And then back to legendary actions. All dragons have the same 3. So detect, which is a wisdom perception check that they can make, a tail attack that they can make, or a wing attack that they can make, all on their off turn. So, any questions about the brass dragon?
If you were a brass dragon and you had the polymorph, what celebrity would you polymorph into?
I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't have an interesting answer to your question. What do you have an answer?
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
Okay.
With no.
Is there a why? Do you have a reason for that?
I don't know. I'm just fucking riffing it, man.
Okay.
You
gotcha.
gotta say one. You gotta say one.
I don't got one. I don't know who's my favorite celebrity right now these days. I don't really.
This is that lore they crave. Will
The lore
they
that
saw
I crave?
lore in the title and they're like,
man.
let's go.
You're killing me here. You put me on the
Will's favorite
spot.
celebrity? Athletes are celebrities.
Athletes are celebrities.
Who's that red bearded
But
guy?
I don't.
Name the red beard.
Justin Turner.
Yeah, just make him look like Justin
I don't
Turner
want to
from
like.
the
I don't want
Dodgers.
to be Justin Turner though.
But your brass dragon would be. It's fantasy. Will it's pretend.
Sure. Yeah. You know what? I would want to be a Dodger baseball player because then I get to take a nap at home plate at Dodger Stadium. There we go. That's my answer.
One. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Watch out for brass
But that being
dragons.
said, I think we can
stealing
get
home
ready
plate.
for a long rest. And before we go,
Okay.
I think what should we talk about? Super Quest Saga.
Super Quest Saga.
Super Quest Saga.
Quest Saga.
It's go ahead. You tell them.
Wait, you tell him.
Okay, so it's a sci-fi.
It's a game we play.
It's a game we play. It's a sci-fi 5e D&D live play that we play here on YouTube, but it's also a podcast, and it can be listened to on any podcast app you can think of: Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, etc. And it's just me, Brian, Josh Freeland, and special guest Jake sitting around playing Dungeons and Dragons in space.
Yeah, man. I think. I don't know if you guys know this, but me and Will do a Dungeons and Dragons podcast. We're pretty good at it these days.
We're okay. Yeah.
I started not knowing nothing, and now I know lots of stuff.
You know something.
I know some things. I know how to do magic.
It's true.
Come watch me do magic, and then I'll cast spells sometimes too.
It's true. He plays a warlock, and the link's in the description. And please come support us. We'd really appreciate it.
Yeah. Tell your friends. Tell your friends about the Dungeoncast. And as a general housekeeping, we kind of stopped doing this, but you can reach out to us at thedungeoncast@gmail.com if you want to hit us up about any like ad space inquiry, or if you just want to tell us like a cool story or about a game you played or about anything. We get a lot of really dope messages. We try to respond to everybody. So thanks to everybody who has emailed in the show lately. If we haven't responded to you yet, we'll be getting there. Don't worry.
Indeed.
With that, let's call it a game.
We will call it a game. We'll talk to you guys later.
Goodbye.
The Dungeoncast.